Hey y'all, it's your girl Cards Player 69. I realize I'm using a lot of terms in my videos, and also there's just some high-level concepts that I think are worth talking about for understanding a card game like cards, where I'm on one side and my opponent is on the other, and we have stuff, and we're trying to kill each other. So, most games like this have these shared concepts. The two big ones are tempo and card advantage. So, what tempo is tempo is who is making the other player respond, who is the one that has to be answered. And it's possible that nobody really has the tempo, in which case the board is completely stalled out. But most of the time someone has it. Usually it's the aggressive deck, but it can change throughout the game. It can be that eventually the aggressive deck peters out and is overtaken by a mid-range deck or a control deck. So yeah, it's important to just understand this idea of forcing answers, so you know when you're in this position and you know when you're not, because you have to play differently. Like for instance, if you already have the tempo, you might want to avoid overextending because you're already ahead. Your opponent already is in a position where they have to answer you. You might already be threatening a lot of damage, and it might be unwise for you to dump your hand now because, you're leaving a bigger thing to clean up all in one sweep if they monsoon rot, supply shortage you, or depths of winter or whatever. So, card advantage is another important concept. The idea of card advantage is basically certain things give you more card value than your opponent. I'll also use value to refer to card advantage frequently, most likely, just for future notice. So, in my bread drafting video, I mentioned things that are bombs, things that are really strong, and it's these cards that have two effects, or they're a unit that has some kind of order-like effect stacked on top of it. So this is classic card advantage. You have, let's see, where is this thing I'm thinking of? Thinking of the Yak 7. So this is a potentially out of control card. It doesn't do something right away. It doesn't do something when it dies. But if it's not answered immediately, it's going to make you have more cards than your opponent. So card advantage. And trust me, it's well worth the 1 damage to your HQ. So something like this, or something like, an effect where, like the bomber that deals 3 to a random enemy unit when it ETBs. ETB meaning enter the battlefield. I had someone on the subreddit talking to me today about some of the common and the standard and limited big German units in limited. Talking about this card. So this gives you essentially some card advantage. It doesn't fully remove it. Maybe a better example is this. This gives you very straightforward card advantage. You're playing a thing and it's replacing itself in your hand. If you are doing this and this card is trading 1-for-1 with an opponent's card, if you play it, you draw a card and the opponent spends a card to kill it, They have spent one card, and you have essentially played a card that's given you another card. You have two cards, they have one card. You're now ahead a card. If you keep doing this, if you have a 3-3 and it's trading into a 1-3 and a 2-2, any number of these things, trading well, having cards that have spell-like effects, having cards that draw you cards and leave behind a unit or multiple units even, this is how you accrue card advantage. So oftentimes you're going to hear me use the phrase 2 for 1 or 3 for 1. So like this is a 2 for 1 because it's giving you two things for one card. It's giving you a unit and it's giving you a new card. This is also a 2 for 1 because you're getting this bounce effect, this retreat, and you're getting a big body on top of it. Things like this also is something talked about. It's a little less straightforward. This sometimes ends up giving you card advantage because the opponent has to break the ambush, depending on the situation. It doesn't always, but it's another reason that type of card is strong. So, tempo and card advantage. These are two important concepts, and in a sense, it is through utilizing one of these concepts that you win a game of cards. Sometimes it's through using both, but a deck is generally focused on one or the other. So like a control deck wants to win the game through card advantage. It doesn't care about applying pressure to the opponent. What it wants to do is receive the pressure until it's all gone. And then at the end, when the dust is settled, the control deck has 4 cards in hand and the aggro deck has none. The aggro deck wants to win the game through tempo. It wants to put so much pressure on the opponent so quickly that it just breaks their back right away. So yeah, you're really winning through one of these two paths. There are situations where both become relevant. Like, for instance, there are situations where, because you have control of the game, you're forcing your opponent to make inefficient trades that are causing them to fall into a death spiral. So stuff like that can happen too. Yeah, so that's a little lesson today on tempo, card advantage, 3 for 1s, 2 for 1s, etc. And I know it's a little confusing, but I wanted to quickly mention, you'll hear me sometimes refer to, tempo is both a concept, it's a route to victory, and it's also a deck. You can also say, like, I'm playing a tempo deck. Just as a quick final note. Yeah, I hope this was a little helpful to give some vocabulary to talk about some ideas, and we'll use them more in future videos. So, yeah, stay informed, stay wise, think a little more deeply about, where you're eking out small advantages against your opponents. Thank you for watching, and I guess really thank you for listening, because this was more of a audio experience than a video. Like and subscribe.